Hi everyone, it's Blesky P here coming in from Melbourne, Australia. How are you today, Spencer DRATE, coming in from New York?
It's rock and roll, as usual.
Hey, we love you, Spencer. I can't wait for you to come on the screen. How are you, Cathy? CC CARLSON.
Doing wonderful. Thank you very much.
Now today we've got a fantastic guest coming all the way from New York. I love New York. How are you, Sage?
I'm good. How are you?
I got to say, you got one of the most fantastic voices I've ever heard, and what a talent. And we'd like to hear one of your songs coming up now. It's a new one called Dilute Me. If you could play a bit of that, that would be great.
Yeah. Put me on the edge, then forget words that you said. I'd rather fall twice than get lost in my own head. Synesthesia cut like a knife, shallow water or high tide, drowned by deep desire, love lost to words I hypnotize. Because I just wanna be consumed by you, but I don't wanna be diluted by you. Say all of me, but do you see right through? Because I don't wanna be diluted by you. Blurred walking lines, now my visions become crystallized. It's a fear that I keep inside, to let you in and then you take what's mine. And I'm plagued by harsh defiance. It's hard to let my demons rest. But if you take on to the core, they might just open up the door. Because I just wanna be consumed by you, but I don't wanna be diluted by you. Say all of me, but do you see right through? Because I don't wanna be diluted by you.
That was beautiful.
Ah.
Spencer, tell everybody in the world about Sage.
Well, I call her an up-and-coming star right now. I know her mother, Pamela, and Pamela was working on a very famous Danny Fields movie with the filmmaker Brandon Toller. And I met Sage at your mom's apartment, Sage. Remember? It was a long time ago. And your mom was telling me about you, and I was curious. And now here we are. Your EP, which you should talk about, which is really good. You have some great cuts on that. Why don't you tell us about your EP?
Yeah, so I released that EP in February of 2020. Timing is everything with the pandemic. You know, that EP was written over the course of a year, mostly 2019. A reflection of kind of going through a breakup and finding self-discovery within that, you know, through that kind of distance and kind of confronting myself and my, you know, independence in so many ways. So it was kind of like, you know, this very long process of coming to terms with that, and all culminated in this project called Things I've Left Behind. I was able to play that with my band once, and then, you know, everything began, and now we're here in somewhat quarantine, but post-pandemic. And yeah, so.
Yeah, some great music on there.
Thank you.
That's your breakout EP. I read all about it on the net. I did some research. I loved the tracks on it. Really good.
You know what? Why don't you tell us how people can get your EP or see it? You know, Sage, how they can get to it.
So it is on all streaming platforms, whatever you use, Spotify, Apple Music, what else? Amazon Music, any of the streaming platforms. It's up there. It's also on my Bandcamp for free or downloadable. Whatever, you know, is your preference, it's there. Yeah, that's where you can find it.
You got a YouTube channel too? Because I found it there too.
Yes, I do have a YouTube channel. It should be up there as well, along with like old music videos and all of that kind of stuff. But there's some new stuff in the works, so that'll be updated soon.
Fantastic, Kathy.
That's fantastic. Yeah, Sage. You some of your influences are Fiona Apple and Angel Olsen. Can you just tell us a little bit? Are those the only influences that are people compared you to those people?
No, I grew up in a household where kind of alternative ways of songwriting and listening to music were really encouraged. I really admire Fiona Apple. I have for so long. I just think that the way that she writes music is really interesting, and you know, reading so much about her and kind of admiring her for so long really kind of drove me to, you know, kind of model some of my music or be inspired by her in so many ways. You know, I think I really admire that kind of brutal honesty. She's kind of unapologetic, I feel, in her songwriting, and super blunt and straight to the point. And that's something that I really respect. And I've been trying to kind of, you know, follow in my own songwriting. And I think something that's come up for me a lot recently is writing with intentionality, as opposed to just writing to finish a song because I feel pressure to do so. Because in the end, like lyrically, I just think that the best pieces of music are the ones that have intention behind them. I find that that's what I like to listen to, and I hope people resonate with that kind of that writing. But yeah.
Sage, I heard you on Spotify.
Well,
can you tell me about Wallpaper? How many tracks are on Wallpaper?
Well, on SoundCloud. Yeah, I also have a SoundCloud. That is an older EP. Actually, that was produced by an ex-boyfriend. But yeah, that's a fun project. There's, I believe, 2 tracks on there. Definitely more electronic rooted, which is fun for me as well. I do enjoy working with producers and kind of exploring that route of music making other than how I typically write, which is with my guitar and then bring it to my band and we work it all out.
Wow. Yeah,
Now,
I mean, Fiona,
Sage, you have influence. Yeah. Oh, I was going to say you have some influences also with New Orleans. You graduated in New Orleans. Is that what? Did you have? It resonates in your music a little bit of that New Orleans vibe.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Yeah, I went to school. In New Orleans. I graduated from Tulane in 2019. You know, spent all 4 of my college years kind of seeing live music almost, if not every other day, like at least once a week. Music is so accessible there. And although I don't write jazz or perform jazz, I do really respect that music. And I'm so appreciative that I got to spend all that time down there and see music and have that accessible to me at any time of day or night. So.
You know what's really interesting to me? I want to say that song "Dilute Me." This is what's coming through my head, Spencer. You've got your version, right, which is so beautiful the way it is. But can you imagine, Spencer, that song being done in 1967, right? But psychedelic with guitars.
Oh,
I
wow.
reckon you need two
Yeah.
versions of that song. I'm telling you. And you know what I'm thinking of?
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Jefferson Airplane, right? At that
Oh,
particular
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
that
yeah.
would blow my mind if you did a rock version of that song. I'm being honest.
Yeah.
You know
that's true.
Jefferson Airplane? With Grace Slick, the lead singer?
Jefferson Airplane? Of course. I've been really wanting to cover White Rabbit. I think it'd be so fun to do live.
Oh, yeah. That's a great song. I can
But what
see
I'm
you doing that.
suggesting to you, Sage, that you do the song Dilute Me in that style as psychedelic, right? I'd love to hear a version of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we we've played it a few times live now with a full band. So I have another guitarist, bass, and drums, and we've been trying to really kind of massage out the sound and figure out like where it needs to go before we get into the studio and record it. But yeah, we're working some stuff out.
Great.
Yeah, it's been super fun. It's been crazy to play live again and with my band and all.
Hey,
that.
Sage, I want you to do some vinyl. Get into that area, when you can. Get into vinyl. Do a vinyl.
Yes, I would love to do a vinyl for
Yeah.
sure.
Do vinyl and get Spencer to do your covers.
I know the master of vinyl. I should get Spencer to do my covers.
Yeah. We just we got a new album. Judith and I designed a beautiful album coming out on Right Records in Australia. Plastic, right?
That's right. We can't wait, can we?
No,
we love
that's
it.
coming out.
We're getting
Beautiful art.
everybody coming through this show, Spencer. I love it. Kathy loves it too. I mean, we're here. We just love it. And we're in lockdown and curfew, but we love having great guests on, and we love showing albums and covers. But let me tell you, Sage, how do the songs come to you, all right? Because I've got to say, myself and Kathy, we write songs, and I get different songs coming from everywhere. But how do you get the vibe? Do you like, for example, the song will come to you in your head and you might record something, a few lines from it, and then go and do the song? Tell me how it comes to you.
Yeah, so I typically gravitate towards, finding a guitar melody that I really like first, and then kind of figuring out what the vocal melody on top of that is. I am a big word collector, so I have just words stored everywhere in my, iPhone notes, in my notebooks, on my skin if I don't have paper, constantly writing down words. And I've kind of used that as like almost a starting point for a lot of the music that I write. And a lot of it is just kind of a feeling and gravitating towards some sort of emotion. But like I said, I've been trying to just write a bit more intentionally and unapologetically, because I feel like in the past I've maybe held back on some things that I've wanted to say. And I think that, as an artist putting things out into the world, in some ways you are speaking for, general emotions that a lot of people feel. And I've had people approach me being like, I can't even believe that you felt that way too. And I was like, wait, I can't believe you felt that way too. And I'm glad that you resonate with it. So yeah, it's been a process of learning and unlearning and relearning how to approach music. And I think it's something that will continue kind of, changing and shifting and growing. And I don't know if it's something that I'll ever say, this is exactly how I do it. But yeah, I think, depending on
I totally understand that. The reason why I mentioned that, I've got to explain it to you, right? When you start songwriting, and I'm not going to get into my own story, but this is what happens, Spencer. You're a talent, and you start writing songs, and then you say, your mind is like, how can I say, in two different parts. Do I write a song that I think is going to be commercial? Do I write a song that's going to be a hit? Or do I turn around and just write a song because I'm satisfied that's a song that represents me? So what happens, you've got to understand, every songwriter goes through this until they find themselves in their individuality. That's what it is. And when you get to the point where you say, I want to do the song, but I want to do it my way, right? Then that is when you're doing something that's your tangent, that makes you individual. And that's what a lot of people can't break out of. I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of a lot of new artists just happy to do cover songs. You know, you want cover songs. There's so many shows on TV, you can see them doing cover songs. But do an individual song like the one you did now, Dilute Me, right? I hear it straight away. I go, this is great. This is you. This is you doing the song. There's nothing like it. There's no one out there like you that does it. That's what does it for me.
I've always been brought up, as I said one time, my Pat Kenny, who ran Kenny's Castaways, one of the most famous music clubs, said to me years ago, he said, Spencer, I only like creative artists. I do not like cover bands, because cover bands are not creative. You're dead. You're not doing anything. It's like your mind is useless. But creativity, where, of course, Sage comes from, that's what I like. And also, I saw an interview with this musician named Russ, R-U-S-S. He had a very interesting story. He's now a very big musician, but going back years ago, people hardly heard him. And what he said was on this interview, which is true, I always say this to people, and he said this, you got to keep at what you're doing. And he's a very creative artist. You have to keep at it. So for years, he built up this incredible listening audience. I mean, absolutely monster right now. He's a very good singer, but he was talking about the struggle. It's like the long way to the top, you know, the song. So
Exactly.
he's there right now. But I think what's important is that you keep doing your music and you think positive, and things will come about if you're good. And Sage is a very good writer and a very good musician. So I believe in my heart she's going to evolve even more and learn a lot. You should keep learning, right, Sage? You keep learning and you keep building and expanding. Each album is different, right? And so, well, here we go, you know.
Cathy, you know about songwriting.
Yeah, and
Come on.
Well, go ahead.
Tell us about songwriting.
I love that song. Yeah, Dilute Me. That's great.
Yeah, great song.
Basically, you know, you just reach for something that no one's ever said in a different way. That's what makes you unique in your lyrics, at least. You know, you try to do something clever, something to get people to think, something to inspire people, and non-judgmental. And you did all that. That's wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Sage, have you ever had a full song come to you?
Sorry,
Sage, have you ever had a song come to you, the full song, music and words?
like in one sitting.
Yeah, that's right. Like it comes to you in your head. No playing. You got the melody, you got the song, you got it in one go. Has it ever happened to you? Like Paul McCartney with Yesterday. He woke up, the song's in his head, he did the song. Has that ever happened to you?
I wish I could say yes.
Okay, why I'm saying that, Sage, and I mean it in a nice way. As time goes by and you write more songs, the songs will come to you.
Yeah.
And they'll come to you more or less. You could get the whole song. You could get half the song. You could get whatever. I'll tell you something. This is really good. You know, now I don't even try to write songs, but when I'm driving in my car, a lot of people write songs in the car. Willie Nelson is the perfect example. He gets in his car, go for a drive, song comes in his head, he's got the song. I do that now, but I don't want the song. I'm at the point where I don't want the full song. Don't give me the song. Give me one verse, give me 3 lines, and let me think about it, and then I'll organize it. In other words, it's like everybody finds their path in songwriting, and you now starting off, as I said, with this talent and the songs that you got, you already can tell that you got it. How you get it in your mind and telepathic where the song comes from, that's you. But one thing that I give advice to everybody, and this is very important, Spencer, take everything out of your head, write everything. And when a song comes to you, don't think it. Let it flow through you. That's the most creative advice I can give you.
I got to tell you a story, a dynamic story, which a lot of people, I was on this interview with Judith on radio, and Pete Bennett was on. He was very famous. Pete Bennett worked with the Stones and the Beatles. And he told this story, which really was mind-blowing. Most people don't know this. John Lennon was staying at Phil Spector's house, and one night at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, he just got up, went to the piano, and get this, began the song Imagine. He sat down, he had the whole thing in his head. And that's how that song evolved, right from the sitting to playing that night, which most people don't know. It's a great story. So it's like,
No, that's true. I've heard that. That is true.
It's a great, I mean, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about inspiration. We're talking about how things evolve, right? And in design, Judith and I work that way with album covers. You know, you get these ideas and sometimes they just hit the home run, you know?
To me, it's like you got it. And what happens is, I'll give you an example. We were talking about Joan Jett. She went to every record company. Everyone said no. You know what I mean? How many people they say no, and you become the biggest thing out there from the no's. In other words, what I'm trying to say is the creative process. Don't stop the creative process, because the biggest problem people have is they overthink everything. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? And they actually stop the song from flowing through them and coming. It's a natural thing, Spencer.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying before. You've got to keep doing what you're doing, like what Russ was saying on the interview I heard. You just got to keep doing. And Sage knows this. I mean, she has good talent. Yeah, she's gonna be fine. I think, really, in my heart, I think she's a very visionary artist in my mind. Sage, if you don't know that, I just said that to you. So it's that, and she has a lot to offer. So I believe she's going to do it the right way, and I think she has that positive head trip, which is so important, right? What you're talking about, Plastic, too, that important positive thinking of striving ahead and doing what you're doing. And the other thing, her talent, you got to have that, no matter who you are. If you don't have that, forget about it. But she has talent, and she does things very well. So that's the major part of that, by the way.
That's natural ability. And as I said, Kathy, you tell us about natural ability. You work with artists every day.
Yeah. You either have it or you don't have it, basically. Right. And people they're going to resonate to you, and you can't go wrong. Yeah. You just can't go wrong. You have.
I can tell you now in this interview. Listen to me, Sage. I can tell you now in this interview, by doing the song Dilute Me, and you haven't recorded it yet, you've won everybody over. I can tell you that. That made the interview what you did at the start. Because there's the talent. We said go for it, and you went for it. That's what talent is. You agree, Spencer?
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with that. That right on, you know. And Sage, you played in New York, right? Recently. I couldn't go, but you play. Tell us about playing around in your life. You've been playing around?
Yeah, you know, with the pandemic and everything, obviously live shows were put on hold for quite a bit. I had my first gig back from pre-corona at Arlene's Grocery on the Lower East Side. And then I just played the Knitting Factory in Brooklyn, quite close to where I live. That was like 2 weeks ago now. So that's, those are the last two that happened. And then I'm playing East Berlin and then Berlin under A on in the East Village.
Yeah, those are great clubs, by the way. If people don't know that, in New York, those are very hot music clubs where people play. So also, that's the other thing. Sage picks out really good places to play. That's very important. I mean, not all musicians do that. You know, they don't have that feel. They don't know where. But she's that already tells me about her dynamic and where she picks where to play. Very important. You know that.
Put it this way, Sage, as I said, the way I see it, and I discovered your music. When we interview someone, I've got to do my research and homework. I listened to your songs on SoundCloud. I went to YouTube. I looked at your picture covers. I looked at everything. But what did it for me, as I said, coming on and doing it live on the spot at the start of this show, that's like unbelievable. You know, people will see this and go, we've got to check her out. So I want you to tell everybody now your links again for us, where they can start buying your songs. And as I said, you're on the road to success. There's no doubt in my mind.
No, thank you. I really appreciate that. My name is Sage Leopold, obviously down in the corner here. I'm like, which way? I'm backwards. You can find my music on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, you name it, it is there. And then I also have a Bandcamp, which is sageleopold.bandcamp.com. You can find it on SoundCloud, also under my name, Sage Leopold, as well. And then I have Facebook, Instagram. My Instagram handle is my first name, Sage, Alex, Leo. And yeah, that's where I'm at.
You know what I wanted to say also, which is very important. I love your name, Sage Leopold. I mean, when you have a really good name, wherever it is, like Spencer DRATE or Plastic EP or CATHY, CARLSON, you know, you're going to do really good. I tell you, your name is amazing. It's a great name. And it sounds like I don't know how you feel about that, but I think it's important that you have a good name. When Judith and I were designing, we always got into this whole thing about naming different things and, you know, whole thing. But, you know, I think that's important. You have a great name, and that alone is really good. Part of your whole image, you know.
Spencer, I totally agree. But can I say something to you, Sage? A lot of big artists, do you know why they make it? Because they got a one name. Madonna, right? One name. Now, I'm not saying you can have the name Sage Leopold.
I
but
love
you can
that,
also have the word Sage. Do you agree, Spencer? I mean, it's a personal choice.
Yeah.
But you know what it is. That's a great idea too. Do you agree, Cathy?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Well, I thought about that. I love her. Her last name is very historical. It could even be famous.
Yeah.
Think
those two names are very dynamic, right? I really agree. Those two names are very dynamic. Sage Leopold. You just say the name, and I get off saying your name. You know, tell people Sage Leopold. You got to listen to it. You know, it's like a no-brainer. You know what I mean? It's a great name. And I think everybody wants to have a great name. You know what I mean? It's like you got it.
Yeah,
like,
see, you're lucky, Sage. That's your name. Plastic EP, I had to invent that. Spencer DRATE, he's got that. Cathy's got that. I had to invent my name. If I go by my real name, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going out the door.
Right.
I know. Shout out to my parents for naming
But
me.
I got to tell you something.
wonderful.
This is interesting. This is interesting. My name, Plastic EP, came from a band I was in 1978 called Plastic EP in the Records. And what happens is after a year, I dumped the name The Records because I said, this is Cliff Richard in the Shadows. I can't have that. It's too long. Dump the band. I'll stay Plastic EP, the lead singer, but we'll be called now the EPs, the extended plays. I made it as short as I can make it, the EPs. See, everybody's got a story. But the world is like your oyster. It's open to you, whatever you want. You might put out an album and call it Sage. You might put out a 2-song EP and call it Sage. You might call it Sage Leopold. It's a personal choice. I mean, I can tell Spencer, he loves the full name. And I totally get it.
Yeah, I think that's true. That's very interesting. And I hope, what is your next thing you're doing, Sage? What are you working on?
I'm working on an LP right now, so we will be recording in October. Yeah, I'm super excited to just like get back to the studio and be recording again and kind of bring this project to its full potential and full fruition with music videos and all that kind of stuff, and like really start to look at myself as like a brand as opposed to like someone who plays music. So I'm excited about the material that we're working on and the sound that's kind of coming to full form. So yeah, it's exciting stuff.
Yeah, I was thinking that you did an EP, and that I really get into EPs because it's easier for the artist to put your best things on in 5 or 6 or 7 songs rather than a whole dynamic album. It's much easier to put your best. But you know, if you're really good, you could do that thing. But I really got into the idea that you did an EP. I like EPs a lot. I think they have a lot it's a great selling point, you know, that you did.
Yeah, I think also, you know, in this day and age with music being so accessible, which is amazing, but you don't really have the physicality of a record anymore where, you know, it's maybe a bit of a nuisance to take the needle and move it as opposed to like taking your finger and clicking on any song. So people are a lot more prone to just listen to singles as opposed to like looking at a full project as a full project that means something and that tells a story. So I do think, you know, you've seen a lot of artists putting out EPs nowadays, just with, you know, people's attention spans naturally being a little bit.
Well, you know, it's interesting. You brought up something which I didn't get into, 45s. A lot of great groups. I have a vast 45 collection of new groups all over the world and design. But 45 is very popular, and it's really a cool thing to put out. It's not as expensive as an LP, and it's affordable, and you could actually put 2 songs on each side if you know how to do it.
I was going to say, do a 4-song EP. That's my advice. 4-song EP, like the 60s with a beautiful cover. Spencer's here, and you're on a winner. I mean, that's what gets you out there. You agree, Kathy?
Well, yeah, Ringo Starr just put out a 4-song EP, and he plans on putting another one out because he says there's a lot of. I mean, not EP, not.
Yeah, I was thinking about 45. I'm talking about, because on a 45, you could put 2 songs on each side if you have the calibration of the time. I just like the form. We're talking about 45, and I think 45 is very important. It's out there, huge, all over the world. You know that. You were talking about it, Sage. 45 is a very good economic thing to put out. It's very interesting. I like 45 records. You know.
You know what gets to me the most? Get this. Vinyl's got a resurgence now. They talk about CDs dying out a bit. Don't get me wrong, Spencer, but get this. They're putting out vinyl that they used to put out, for example, the Beatles and whatever. Yeah. And you're paying $50 Australian for a vinyl record, right?
Right.
And if you go to bargain bins, you find the original ones for $5, and people are paying $50 for the newest product. I can't get my head around that. They're just spending money left, right, and center, $50 an album.
When do you think your album will come out? Do you have any idea?
I would like to say early 2022. Oh my God, that's a weird year to say. But I'm hoping for like a birthday release. So my birthday is the 21st. And now that I'm saying this to the public, now I feel like there's some accountability to be held for me. So that's the goal.
Great.
I will be releasing singles before the end of this year.
And I want to make a comment on packaging. Do it on board. Don't do a regular plastic CD thing. If you're going to put it out, do it on board. A board is permanent. You could do the graphics all the way around. When you put it on plastic CD, it falls apart. You know what I'm saying? So I think things could put out. If you're going to do a CD, you do a multi-panel on a nice board, thickness a little bit. I'm just suggesting things for you. And also vinyl is that's the next thing. I mean, if you want to do that, you know.
Yeah, I'd love to get some vinyls out for sure.
Good. I'll be in touch with you about that.
Yeah. Let's get things rolling.
Yeah. Got it rolling.
Kathy, if you'd like to wrap up the show, go for it.
Okay, Sage. Well, Sage is a wonderful talent. We can all agree on that. And she's got everything from evoking a smoky jazz bar sound to a unique pop style. And I wish you lots of luck, and I know you'll do well.
Thank you, Sage, for being on the show. Thank you, Spencer DRATE. It's always, I love having you on the show, Spencer. We always have a laugh.
I love your whole.
And I've got to say, the talent that you find is totally amazing, and it blows my mind. And Sage, congratulations on your career and what you're doing out there. And you are a talent to be reckoned with. Believe me, it's blown my mind. I got to go back and watch this from the start again. It's that great. You agree, everyone?
Thank you so much.
Have Sage in Australia, Plastic.
Yeah, Sage should come down and play a few songs. They got shows like On the Green, you know. They got these wineries where they've got big stages and people come and sing. You'd be good. You'd be good there too, Spencer. You and I can sit there with Kathy and just have a wine and watch Sage play.
That'd be great.
I reckon that'd be a buzz.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks again for joining us on Gemstars. Thanks, everyone. See you next show. See ya.